Hi, I'm Moran, and you're watching the IT Career Toolkit Podcast. This is episode number 9. Today we're going to talk about goals and vision. And this kind of came up in a couple different discussions where people were talking about kind of what they were pushing for or looking to do in their career. And so I want to talk about the topic a little bit. It's something I've spent some time on. I think I have several blog posts about writing your ideal working day and creating a vision for what that looks like. I'm here in my living room. I work out of my house, which is something I've done often, although there have been times I've spent more time in the office and less time in the office, or in traditional offices. I like working out of my house. There are, of course, challenges with that, and we'll talk about that in another episode when we talk about telecommuting. But I want to tell you a few things. First of all, some exciting developments with the IT Career Toolkit podcast, and then we'll get into our subject. So first, I want to thank everybody for comments and emails. It's been a lot of fun. Hopefully, I've gotten to everybody's emails and responded to those directly. I either told you I would answer it more thoroughly in a future podcast or given you an answer right there. But I do appreciate that. A couple things going on. One is I'm talking with Pearson, my publisher for they're the parent company or parent imprint of Cisco Press and the IT Career Builders Toolkit. And we are talking about a second edition. So we're kind of in the process for outlining that, and I think it's going to happen, but of course, until the ink is dried, we don't know. But that's one of the things we're working on. Another is that we're going to start offering some free webinars, and so look for those announcements, sign up on the newsletter list, and you'll see more information coming up about that. So those are two kind of exciting things we're hoping to do. So as we talk about goals, sometimes when I talk to people about what their goals are, I think they confuse the goals with the vehicle, and the conversation comes up where they'll talk about what type of income they want to make or the job title they want, and those are all goals for sure. Those are things we can definitely have as kind of achievables, things we want to go after. The challenge comes in is when those become the final objective or the final goal. And so I want to give you kind of a different vision, because I view those as vehicles, and you certainly can have a goal for a particular job or a particular position, but I think it's more important to create a broader vision. So I'm going to give you an idea of what mine are. I'm going to give you 3 kind of broad goals I have and the reason I have them, and then hopefully it puts in perspective why I view the job or the specific job or task or the income as simply vehicles to get you to those. They're what help you achieve your goals. The first is geographically untethered income. Now, I've talked about this quite a bit in prior blog posts. I wrote about it in the book. For me, it's a critical topic. I want to get to a point, and I believe the internet affords this, and we're kind of partially there. We work out of our house most of the time. But I want to be able to live and earn from anywhere. And the reason is really simple. I live in Southern California now. As you may know just from looking at news and looking at home prices, cost of living in California is extremely high. So I would love to be able to live less expensively and a little more comfortably. So that's one of the goals. Secondly, I just like the idea of being able to earn from anywhere that I am. That's something that, once again, I think the tools and the internet afford us that. As a matter of fact, I'm more convinced of that after reading both Rework by Jason Fried and the guys from 37 Signals, and Crush It by Gary Vaynerchuk. I'll have links to those on the website. But that's one of the goals, geographically untethered income. Another one for me is a small ranch. Not something elaborate, but I'd love to have a small ranch or some land with a small ranch-style home and then a few cabins on the property. And the reason is simple. I want a place that my kids can come and visit me and have a place they can kind of have a little autonomy. So having little cabins there, but still having us together would be nice. Kind of a family retreat of sorts. And that's a vision that I've laid out there as something I would like to accomplish. And the last, once again, very simple, a sailboat. I just want to have a sailboat that I can have in the ocean, something I could bunk in, stay overnight if I wanted to. Once again, doesn't have to be a huge yacht, just something that would be comfortable enough to have a few people on board and do a little bit of sailing. So those are 3 goals I have. Those are 3 goals that I would like to achieve. Now, some of those, like geographically untethered income, they determine partially how I go after jobs and how I pursue my work. But the others are just help broadly define what kind of income I may have to make. And of course, if I set my goal to have a ranch in California, it would be very different than places I've looked like New Mexico that have much less expensive pricing but still beautiful areas. So from those I can derive an income objective, and then I can start to push my vehicle in that direction. So hopefully that gives you an idea a little bit about goals and vision. I try and align my goals and vision as one item, things I want to go after, and then those will help push what vehicle I use, what kind of job, as opposed to putting the job title or an income as a goal. It's okay to have those as goals, but hopefully they're for something. The income is not just to have the income, unless that's what you want, is just, hey, I earn this much income and that's my goal. Rather, I think it's more important, particularly for the long term, and as you get a little bit older, that that becomes less important. The income is less the issue. The goal or vision of what that income can get you becomes more critical. So whether or not you're earning $50,000, $100,000, $200,000 becomes less an issue than does that help you arrive at the goal or the vision you have for your life. So that's kind of where I make the distinction. Hopefully that helps clarify some of the questions that have come my way, and hopefully you find it valuable. Please let other people know about the podcast, and we'll see you on Thursday or before then. Thanks.